Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about Starfire Protocol. I believe that it is back due to the buffs from Benevolence. It's bringing back the heat. This buff to Benevolence really brings Starfire back up to a good, comfortable spot in the meta. Now, before we get into the video, if you are any of the 97% that are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It only helps us out. Next up, let's break down Starfire Protocol really quickly here. Fusion grenades have an additional charge. 2 grenades is what this means, and they recharge from empowered weapon damage, empowering rifts or inside a well of radiance. Empowered final blows provide more grenade energy, and defeating anything with the fusion grenades provides a 100% class ability. This exotic also provides a passive 20% additional base grenade recharge rate, and you are granted 2.5% grenade ability on weapon hits every 0.4 seconds. Next, let's talk about the solar aspects for the build. On this build, we're going to be using Heat Rises as well as Touch of Flame. Heat Rising is going to make it so where if we consume our grenade to cure ourselves, it's also going to proc Benevolence. And then Touch of Flame is going to give us that enhanced grenade functionality. Then we can move on to talking about the solar fragments. Fragment number 1, Ember of Benevolence. This fragment provides 400% additional base grenade, melee, and class ability when applying Cure, Radiant, Restoration, Healing, or Reviving allies for 6 seconds. Stat penalty of -10 Discipline, but this is offset by the constant regen we'll have from using this fragment. This fragment's going to give us insane class regen and grenade regen when using Starfire Protocol's exotic traits properly. And now we'll move on to talking about fragment number 2, which is going to be Ember of Torches. Ember of Torches states that when we perform a powered melee attack, it will make us as well as nearby allies radiant. That's going to proc Ember of Benevolence and give us that additional 400% base ability regeneration for grenade, melee, and our rift. And then it's also going to provide us weapon damage bonus of 25% and anti-barrier to weapons like sniper rifles or grenade launchers that don't have a champion mod this season. Now we move on to fragment number 3, Ember of Searing. Ember of Searing is also going to create a fire sprite, and it's important to know that fire sprites grant 12.5% grenade ability energy, which is really important when we're running an exotic like Starfire Protocol. But the most important part of this fragment is that when we defeat scorched enemies, which our fusion grenades will help us accomplish, that we can gain anywhere from 8 to 25% of our melee ability energy and generate that fire sprite, so it's a 2-for-1 melee and grenade ability energy for the build. Last fragment of the build here, which is sort of a flex fragment in my opinion. You can go with something different, but I prefer Mercy because inside of GMs, dungeons, and raids, reviving an ally is also going to proc Benevolence for me. And it's also going to provide a stat benefit of +10 resilience. This is just going to help synergize with Benevolent because as you revive that ally, it's also going to provide that restoration to the ally that you're reviving as well as yourself, so it will proc Benevolence. Now let's talk about the artifact mods. Okay, when it comes to the mods for Starfire Protocol on the artifact, what we're going to be using is Overload Hand Cannon. Sunshot is going to be really good. That's going to really help with this build. Then I also like to go with Unstoppable Fusion as well in this column, and then you can grab one of the other ones, but definitely go with something like the Overload Hand Cannon because Sunshot has a lot of synergy in this build just because it spreads Scorch, and Scorch will proc one of our fragments. That's going to help us get more melee energy and have Radiant up more often. Here in the second column, I'm going with Origin Perk Specialization. This is just in case I use Apocal Integration. I've got Diviner's Discount because none of these mods are going to do anything because most of my build is going to be monochromatic here. Second column, same thing. This is just grabbing one to grab one here. Origin Perk Specialization 2. Just in case we are using Apocal Integration, it is buffing it up. This will actually buff the Nanotech Tracer Rockets, and it can be overcharged in case you're using it within an area where it's not on an overcharge modifier. Then we have Elemental Orb Solar. This is going to be to where our solar weapon final blows have a chance to spawn the solar elemental orb. We're going to combine that with a perk that's in the 4th column here, Refreshing Pickup. So then we spawn these with our solar weapon, we pick them up, and we'll get 25% ability energy to our ability with the lowest amount of energy. Then we also have Elemental Fury. This is going to buff the Starfire Protocol nades. So when a champion is stunned, elemental ability damage is going to be buffed by 35%. So that's going to help out make the Starfire Protocol nades just deal an insane amount of damage. Then we have Overload Machine Gun. This is going to synergize with our build. Grab a Solar Machine Gun, Fixed Odds, Unwavering Duty, something along those lines. It's going to hit really hard and it's going to help with pad clear in the build. Then we have Monochromatic Maestro. This is just another way to buff our Starfire Protocol nades. We shoot our solar weapon, then our solar abilities are going to also receive a damage boost of 10%, or vice versa. If we hit with an ability like our Starfire nade, then it's going to swap, and then we're going to get a bonus damage for 5 seconds to our weapons. Last mod here in the very last column is going to be Rapid Fire Ranger. Rapid precision hits with our machine gun or our hand cannon will weaken an enemy for a short duration. That's going to combine very nicely with Elemental Fury, because once they're weakened, then they can take some additional damage from our Starfire Protocol grenade. Armor mods! Alright, now let's begin talking about the armor mods. For the Starfire Protocol build, what you're going to want to run here is Harmonic Siphon. We're going to need a way to generate orbs, and then we run Heavy Ammo Finder and Special Ammo Finder. You could fool around with maybe swapping off the Special Ammo Finder or one of the finders for Dynamo or Ashes to Assets. If I were going to make a call, I would switch off the Special Ammo Finder and go with Ashes to Assets. Now, when you come to the arms, we are running one copy of Grenade Kickstart because grenades are the center of the build. Grenades are very important. So let's make sure that we can always get our grenades back. So we're going to run one copy of Grenade Kickstart. Then we have one copy of Impact Induction, cause damage with our melee, which is also going to proc Ember of Benevolence, but also provide us with 20% of our grenade ability energy. Then we have Bolstering Detonation. It's going to grant class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. Because we run the Empowering Rift, this is kind of important just for another way to get this Empowering Rift back in case we cannot kill an enemy with a fusion grenade. Let's say we're damaging a boss or a mini boss. This is going to be important just to have our Empowering Rift back so we can get our grenades back as well. It just helps close out the loop here. Under chest, we are running one copy of Charged Up. Then I have space for 2 resistance mods to offset whatever the incoming threat damage is to keep you alive and better protected. Then on the legs, we are running one copy of Stacks on Stacks so we can pick up just 2 orbs to get all the way up to our maximum charges of 4 for our armor charges. One copy of Innervation so we can get 10% of our grenade back when we pick up an orb of power. And then one copy of Recuperation because we're not running Healing Rift. This is very important to make sure that we can stay alive by collecting our orbs that we need for our armor charges for our grenade. Then on the bond, we are going to run one copy of Reaper. After using this class ability of the Empowering Rift, our next weapon Final Blow is going to spawn an Orb of Power. Then we have one copy of Bomber and one copy of Outreach. So when we cast our Empowering Rift, we're going to get 10% of our melee and also 10% of our grenade ability. That's going to pretty much wrap up all of the mods there. Also, just remember that you can swap some things around if you don't prefer to have certain things like I talked about with the helmet mods. That will wrap up everything with the Starfire Protocol build. Please enjoy the build. I think it's really good. I think Starfire is back in a pretty good spot, at least with these seasonal artifact mods. And with Ember of Benevolence, I think it can still have potential to hang around and be a good loadout if you prefer it. It's got a new ornament now. It's not stupid busted like it was before and just dominating the Warlock meta. We have a lot of options with Phoenix Protocol, Starfire Protocol, Sunbracers. There's a lot of flexibility, even Rain of Fire build, which I'm working on and will have up shortly. There's also even other things like Boots of the Assembler, which are often slept on, which is also another build that we'll have shortly up on the channel. If you guys do like this video and appreciate what I offer here on the channel, please subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Have a lovely day.